we agree,
Uh-huh.
we'll
Go
do the
ahead.
recording each time, and then as people request it rather than
Yes,
publish it, right?
yes,
So
that's right.
people understand what we've
Yes.
decided.
Anybody that wants a recording, just reach out to me, and yes, I'm happy to send it to them.
Yeah, I
Cheryl, where
already
are
have.
you located, Cheryl?
I'm in Southern California. I'm in
Oh, okay.
Laguna Woods, so I'm down in Southern California. Today it's going to be 83.
Well,
And a week ago it was cold and raining. So, but nothing like the rest of the United States has gone through with weather, I have to say, and no earthquakes for a while. I see a few other Californians here, so. Okay, let me just start this off. Welcome, everybody. This is our second GAB Chat of 2025. We did this before. Fortunately, Heather Knox stepped in and said, boy, I'd love to help you with this. And I said, are you kidding me? Bless you for doing that. So she's kind of taken over and been the momentum behind it. This is our opportunity for all of us to just kind of connect with one another on a level that you often don't have in the training. You don't have time for. All the trainers are very busy getting things done, and you've got to work through it. You have to do this, and timing is of the essence. This is a chance for you to ask that question, talk about a problem that you may have, discuss a new way you're using guided autobiography, which is one of the brilliant things about the three panelists we have today. Last time we had a speaker who was doing the digital storytelling. This time we thought, well, we'll open it up and have panelists, and you can ask them questions, and what they're doing may stimulate something in you. So I encourage you all to write in a question, raise your hand, but this is your time together. So I will introduce the three panelists, and then we're going to move into a little, Lily is our flash writing expert, a little exercise just to get everybody warmed up. So Lily, first of all, raise your hand so everybody sees who Lily is. There's Lily right in the middle with red. You can see her. Okay, the panelists that we have is Michael Williams, Janet Ferguson, and Heidi Thorsen. So I'll start with Heidi. You're not our oldest, Heidi, but you've been a GAB instructor longer than the others. You've been a GAB instructor since 2015, and then she's now a GAB trainer. And Heidi has taught many more GAB classes than I ever have. So anybody that has a question about almost anything, Heidi is your go-to person. She has also taken a group to Italy, and she's planning on doing a group, let's hope this works out, in 2026 to Mexico. So she has taken, like we have one, Richard Campbell has done GAB on cruise ships, but now we have Heidi, who is taking it out of the country, as like a retreat. And she's in Poulsbo, Washington. Janet Ferguson is our, not second oldest, but Janet has been a GAB instructor since 2023. She is bicontinental. You never quite know where Janet is. Right now, she's in the UK in Manchester, and she's working on another degree from Cambridge. She is also a digital storyteller. So she comes to us from the Story Center, which is the American Story Center, Digital Story Center, digital storytelling. I don't know. I think it's probably the major one. I don't know enough to say that, but I would guess that. And she's on their board. So and she also lives in the Cayman Islands. So she has two homes. And right now she's in the UK. So she's done guided autobiography using food as a metaphor, and how that can bring up memories and how you can use that. So we thought Janet would be a good one. And then Michael Williams is currently in Ontario, Canada, but he spent 30 years in Scotland. He has lived in different places. He has worked from coal mines to becoming a master storyteller. He's oral storytelling. He's now using guided autobiography, and he was just telling me something exciting I hope he will tell all of you about, where he just came from a hospice bereavement center where he created a play, that he then had the script written out so that they could play the parts in his short play. That just sounds fascinating. So I'm sure you're all going to learn something about how he has adapted and used guided autobiography in different ways. So that's our panel. I think it's going to be fun. Remember, this is for you. So ask your questions, jot them down. You can either, say them or write them in or whatever. So we've got Lily watching the chat box. And now I'm going to, well, first of all, I'm Heather, raise your hand, because
I'm
Heather
right
is
here.
the one here. I'm just the one who has all the background information, but Heather is the one doing this. So I'm going to now turn it over to you, Heather, and on to Lily.
Yeah, great. Thanks for introducing us to our incredible panel. I'm super excited. Um, so as Cheryl said, you can fire off questions as they come in. And at the end of the session, the last half hour, we'll just turn off the agenda and just open up the floor for conversation, which I think really helps build community. And also it gives you an opportunity to maybe share other ideas that you have for future GAB chats. And as I mentioned in the last call, we're trying to alternate what time of day it is so that we can reach people in different parts of the world. So you'll see my husband Greg on the call. And I just wanna, he's in Mexico. I'm in Canada right now. I just flew here last night. And
He knows you're safe.
yeah, he knows I'm safe. And just as a little side, we just finished teaching our first round of GAB classes together, and I am so hooked. I am so charged. We are just I'm addicted. I just love the whole process. The group was phenomenal. And if anybody hasn't taught yet and they're on the fence, as Cheryl said to me, just do it, just push you
Yeah.
into the deep end, because that's where the real learning begins. So I just wanted to share that little bit because I'm super hyped about it.
So
Um,
you're teaching with your husband, the two of you?
yeah, we're doing it together.
Yay.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll be nice.
I thought this was the GAB addiction support group.
Yeah. Sorry, sweetie. I
Well,
didn't tell you.
it is in a way, Greg.
Yeah. So, Lily, do you want to take it from here?
Sure. And I'm going to share my screen because when you're writing, it helps to see something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I'm just, oh, not the presentation mode that I wanted. Oh, well. Okay, let me stop share and try this again.
Talking while you're doing that.
Yes.
I'm never short of words.
Present full screen. Sure. It's for some reason I am stuck here. Share. Okay. Now I'm going to try sharing again. Sorry about that.
No worries. That's life. That's all of you that are doing Zoom. It's always nice. Lily and Lee work together. It's always nice to have a partner.
It is.
If something does go wrong.
Can you see the full screen or not?
Nope, not yet. I just said it started. It says double click to enter full screen mode. I don't know what that means. So mine is a black screen with Lily Bankford has started screen. Can you see it? There we go.
Yeah,
but now we're back to
Lily.
Okay, but it's not in full screen mode, and I'm not sure why, but I guess this will work. I'm just curious, how many of you have done flash writing before? I know you, a lot of fiction writers do this. We do this in our class. It really is just writing calisthenics to get people writing, to get people thinking on the theme is how we normally do it. Today, I thought it might be a way just to get to know us a little better. I keep hearing the ding. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 minutes, and whatever comes to mind, it doesn't have to be, well thought out or, perfectly written. Just whatever jumps in your mind, just write it down in 2 minutes, and then we'll get a chance to share it. So here's what's going to happen. I will give you some words, and I want you to pick one of those words and write a quick story or memory. And if nothing's happening and you can't think of something, then just write what the word means to you, but I think if you can just share a memory or something about that word, that would be good. So here it is. Here are the words. Choose one and write something about it.
Lily, can you read the words, please?
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry, Heidi. Adventure, courage, surprise, dream, change, challenge. I know that was quick, so if you can finish up your thoughts on that. I'm in the middle of my story there, so. Who would like, could we get some volunteers to share what they wrote? Marcia,
Jump
you're
in,
good.
everybody. Yeah,
Quick
jump in,
things.
everybody. It's not
Yes.
graded.
Okay, I'll do it.
I guess
Okay.
I could
Are you
share.
calling on me? Lily?
Okay, Marcia first.
Okay.
I choose the word challenge. I was always afraid of speaking in public and even at my place of work when we had staff meetings. Lack of confidence, I think. So I joined Toastmasters, which met at 7 a.m. weekly. Through the training over 15 years, I became a distinguished Toastmaster, the highest award in Toastmasters. I learned to swallow my fears and speak.
Nice.
And look at that, you were the first one up here, so it really
Yeah.
worked really well. Thank you. Carlos.
Yes. Well, I was in an earthquake, a big earthquake in Mexico City
Hmm.
in 1985, and it was an earthquake of 8.2.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like the city was bombed and buildings were down, and my wife and I were miraculously saved. We survived, but it was one of the most astonishing experiences that we've had, that I've had.
Wow, I imagine that.
I think you had Francine next.
Yes, thank you. So mine was adventure. My first trip to Europe was in my mid-30s to teach at a university in Switzerland. But first, I decided to travel unplanned from Munich to London. And then when I arrived at night, well, when I arrived in London, I had no money. I mean, this was before, you could do currencies before you left, and there was no cell phones or anything.
Yeah.
And so I wound up in a youth shelter. And then somehow I found my way to France and then Switzerland. But when I arrived at the destination in Switzerland, it was at night, and again, without language or local currency. And I wound up wandering around until I found an open, halfway done apartment, and I crashed in this unfinished apartment. And I was woke up by workmen in the morning. And had to find my way to the apartment I was supposed to rent, but now it was Monday morning, so I could do that.
Wow. Imagine doing that today, Francine.
Wow.
Okay, Steve had his hand up.
Well, I'll go last because I misunderstood the assignment.
Come on, Professor.
Well, apparently not paying attention. I thought we were supposed to use all of them. So here we go.
Be
I am-
impressed.
Yeah,
I am
now you're
surprised.
showing off, Steve.
Yeah,
I screwed up. I'm surprised at the challenge of this adventure in flash writing. I am dreaming of how it might change me, and it will take great courage to share this.
That's beautiful.
I screwed up.
That's
job.
great.
Well, I'm glad you came up with a few sentences on that one.
Mhm.
Anybody else? I can't see all the hands, so I don't know.
Barbara's got her hand up. You want to go, Barbara?
I
Hi,
see
Barbara.
Liz too.
Okay, hi. Yeah, I had fun with this adventure. On the bullet train headed to Kyoto after during our Japan adventure, I reflected on the recent excursion we took. Our first excursion of the morning after our late evening arrival in Tokyo was to Mount Fuji. Sadly, it was a rain-soaked day that only got worse as we made our way up the mountain. We had no view of the national treasure, nor were we able to embark on the included boat tour. Now, as we sped through on the bullet train to Kyoto, my husband spotted a snow-capped mountain peak that suddenly appeared out our window, Mount Fuji. I videoed moving my iPhone to the window, keeping it in sight as we surged forward. 3 minutes later, it receded from sight, then was gone, but not from my camera. Even with electric wires, concrete walls, posts cascading in and out, interrupting our view, I found a fraction of a second frame that shows Fuji's majestic peak. I froze the frame and converted it to a still photo.
Nice.
Frozen in time.
Wow.
Okay.
I think Liz had her hand up. I don't see her.
Yeah,
hand,
Liz
but I
and
think she
Susan,
did.
and then Susan.
Okay,
Okay.
I can't see myself, but I guess I'm here.
You are.
Okay, my challenge is now that as I retire from my quote main job, I will be navigating the world without a rock I have used as anchor. I feel the waves of possibility, time opening, perhaps a dawn of hours, but I am aware I need an energy infusion, courage to be surprised. What will I find out there? Words will help me navigate. Words will help me navigate. They will be my oars and my ballast.
Nice.
You got this.
Thanks.
Yeah. Susan.
Can you guys hear the noise
Yeah.
that's in the background?
No.
No.
Okay, I just got people here doing, the building's being repiped and it's a nightmare. So I've got a vacuum there. So this was interesting because it really reflected something from a meeting that was right before this. And the word was dream. The dream has always been the same, to be a writer, but the shape has changed over the years. Still, I still love telling people stories, thus the shift to ghostwriting. It's so much more than granite countertops. Who gives a shit about granite countertops anyway? I care about people and their lives, their joys and challenges, and the colors they surround themselves with.
Right.
Great.
Thank you,
Great.
Suzanne.
Pretty short compared to what other people are writing, but
Oh, no, that's great.
That's great.
Well,
Come
do
on.
we have time
wrote
for more?
something.
Anything? Yeah,
I don't know.
Heather,
I don't know how much time
gonna,
we have.
yeah.
We probably should
Yeah.
start with the panel because we're at 22 on the hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Lily, very much.
Yeah,
for
thanks,
that.
Lily. That was
You got
fun.
us,
Thanks.
you got our calisthenics in.
Yeah, I like the idea of including flash writing when we do class.
I want a copy of yours, Steve. I think that was pretty brilliant.
It's already in the trash.
So I have a question. Lily, so is your method of flash writing a way to kick start somebody who doesn't usually write? How do you use flash writing?
It is for somebody who doesn't usually write, but usually with the theme that we're doing, like if it's family, we will put like an image. Sometimes we use image, so we'll put an image of a kitchen, like an old-fashioned kitchen, and say, write about your grandmother's kitchen or your mom's kitchen or the kitchen that you remember. Write about the smells, you know, think about all the senses, what's happening. So it's a way to help them write, and also to start their memories into writing the theme for the week.
Do you do it every time, Lily, or
We
just?
do.
Oh, you do.
We do
And
it for all the themes.
You start with it, or is it?
That when we're after we've introduced a theme for the next week.
Okay.
We do that. Well, we do the creative exercise, a series of things we do. We do our classes online, so it's a lot better online because you can't do a creative exercise for 20 minutes online with people. So it's one way to have a more interactive online experience.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like a good idea. I've never tried that, but I ask because there's a lot of people who just have an aversion to writing and just don't have that experience.
Yeah.
One thing I found, Lily, and you probably have too, but I like the timed prompts because the short time, whether it's 2 minutes, I sometimes use 4 and sometimes 7 minutes, but what people say is it doesn't give the inner critic time to really, start telling you that you're not a good writer.
Yeah.
You just get started, and I tell people that once they start writing or tapping on their laptop, not to stop, just to keep the pen moving, keep your fingers moving over the keyboard, and just type whatever comes to mind, like you said. And I think that's really helpful for people who have, I mean, the number of older people that I meet in these groups who say who apologize and say I can't write, and you know where it's usually linked to? They almost invariably they'll go back to a memory from high school, or school at some point, and some teacher told them that they weren't good at English, or they weren't good writers, they weren't good with language, or they didn't have an imagination, and they carry that their whole life, and then say, oh, I can't do this. But I give them a time prompt and they do it, because spelling and grammar and all of that doesn't matter, and you're speaking it. You're not going to show somebody you're writing. You're not getting it marked like Cheryl said.
But I hear you folks. I think you folks are saying that it's easier or more practical online than in person.
It can do it in person is just fine. That we have creative exercises that take longer in person, when you're facilitating the classes.
This might be a good point to ask, because Carlos says, I think you're the only one I don't recognize as a GAB instructor. So you must have taken a guided autobiography class somewhere in Seattle.
I'm totally new. This is my first. I'm interested in doing it, but I'm totally new. I don't have experience yet.
Okay, so you haven't taken a guided autobiography class?
This is the first anything.
Okay, well, you'll want to by the time you're done with all these GAB instructors, I can tell you. So welcome.
So somehow I got in.
How did you,
Got in here, so
you signed up to the forum, to the GAB forum?
I guess so.
Or,
Yeah,
Carlos, did you attend the summit in December?
I did not. No, this is the first experience that I'm having with Gab.
Okay.
exciting.
Yeah.
We got a newbie here, so all of you GAB instructors can test your skills now. How to
Yeah,
convince
so
him to take one of your classes.
yeah, so Carlos, just to give you a little background, all of us
Yeah,
attended training that last, what, 8-week training?
eight
to
weeks. Yeah.
prepare us to become instructors. And through the process, we did our own personal guided autobiography writing, and that's done, 800 to 1,000 words per session. And so you're going to learn now from our panel, and the rest of us as instructors are going to pick their brains and learn more about the process. But yeah, I would encourage you to attend a class and or sign up for the training. Great,
I'll do it. I'm interested. Yeah.
great to have you here.
Oh.
So, I have a couple of questions to get started. I don't know, I don't see any in the chat just yet. One of the big pressing ones, of course, is pricing, that people want to know how to price the classes. And I guess I would also preface it with how many classes you're teaching as well. So anybody on our panel want to speak out, or everybody on our panel want to speak out about that?
Yeah, I can start. Money's always for some people. I mean, money's not a problem. For me, I had some very deep-seated issues around money and about charging. And I was the kind of person that just wanted to offer everything for free because it was so much fun and it was good for you. But because I left teaching a long time ago and I had to kind of create a paid career for myself. I had to contend with money issues. So I took a good hard look at my attitudes towards money that originated in childhood, and I did that for a while. But I think more practically, I just started researching on the internet. What were other people charging for similar type of classes, writing classes, memoir classes, talk to other GAB instructors. Um, and just I try to get a kind of ballpark figure. What were people charging? Of course, I always also took into account the number of hours that I spent preparing and how often I was either in person or online. And also the other thing is kind of work out a price that you're comfortable with. Sometimes I'll say to people, okay, let's say, how about, would you like to make $1,000 an hour? And they kind of go, oh no, that's too much. Okay, now we know that. Let's go. How about maybe $1 an hour? Oh no, that's an insult. Ah, right. So then let's go halfway. What, $100? And I kind of go back and forth like that from one extreme to another, and eventually we narrow it down to a comfort zone where that person feels comfortable. I would be happy. I wouldn't be resentful if I was making this much money. Now let's take a look at that amount that you're comfortable with, and let's see if it's reasonable. Is it financially sound within your own budget? Maybe you're making money maybe you have other income sources, maybe you don't. So we need to look at those things as well, and look at how much time you're putting in, and also, you've invested a lot in your training. And I believe, you have every right to, earn back something that you've invested in yourself.
And
But you
Michael,
can do that.
do you believe people value it more when they've paid for it?
Oh, definitely. I've
Yeah.
offered free webinars, and you get 20 people sign up, and only 3 people show up, because especially if you're offering a video recording. People don't value what they don't pay for.
Okay. Yeah. Are you willing
and I
to
don't.
talk, are you willing to talk numbers with us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I have an in-person group at the moment in a rural community.
Uh-huh.
Not well-to-do people. Most my clients are older women, farm wives. So I started out charging $40 an hour. That's Canadian, so I'm not sure what that is in American here. But it was $40 a session for an hour session, and everybody was happy. Nobody complained. They all paid, paid up front. And then I realized that I was undercharging compared to what other people in the area were charging for writing classes and that sort. So I increased it to $50 in the next set of sessions. And
Do you
again,
live in the United States, Michael?
no, Canada, Carlos.
Canada,
Yeah.
I see.
But that was, particular to the particular population in a rural community. Now, in a city maybe where people are more affluent, I know there are people charging, $75 to $100 per sessions.
So Michael, how many classes do you offer your students? And is it only 1 hour long that you're doing?
Yeah, I do either 1 hour, and I also have 2 hour classes.
Okay.
But sometimes people can only come for an hour. That's what suits them. And then I have another group that people come for 2 hours. Although I must say the first half hour, we just call that a coffee half hour. We get the gossip over with in the first half hour. And then we get down to work for the last hour and a half. And that works. And the women know each other. They're all from, again, a rural community. And they need to talk initially just to and have coffee and a donut or something. So
So
yeah,
they're
and
paying
yeah,
per session versus paying for the whole round.
yeah, they do both. I offer 6 sessions as a program, and some of them pay as they go along, and some pay upfront the whole amount. So 6 times 50, $300. And I've had some just transfer the money to me at the very beginning before we even
And
start.
do you find there's less commitment if they're paying per session, that they may not show up at every session?
Some of them tell me ahead of time that that's the reason they're paying me session by session, because they already know that there's going to be, I do them on Saturdays, and so they'll let me know. They'll say, I have to pay this way because I'm not going to be here on your third session. I've
Right.
got a family commitment, so that's fine with
And
me.
you don't find that disruptive to the process with the rest of the group?
No. I just that's life. And I think it comes from working with older people, and I do a program in a retirement community, and you just have to contend with people being ill, having doctor's appointments. I've had COVID shutdowns where I arrived only to be turned away.
Right.
So you just have to kind of roll with it.
Can we get hear from Heidi about yours?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Michael.
That's a very good question, and I totally agree. I appreciate hearing Michael's input. For me, it really just depends on the population of people. What will people pay? And I started out with offering a class through our church, and I wasn't comfortable giving it for free, but I also wasn't comfortable taking money for it. So I arranged with the board of elders, to find a charity. And so I set a price and wrote it up as the cost of this class is, a donation to, a certain fund at the church. So in essence, they were paying for the class, but they were also the monies were going to support a special ministry at the church. So I felt good about that in that situation. But in my community, I had to take a look at, what are people willing to pay? And in the particular Paulsbo community, there was definitely a break point, that one price brought people in, and just raising it by $25, registration slacked off. So I offered GAB as 8-week classes, and I charged $150 for 8 weeks. So that each session was 2 hours. But when I offered the class at a neighboring community, which was much more affluent, I could easily charge $225 for the very same class, just because that's what they expected, and that's what the going rate was in that particular area. Of course, the two communities are very close to each other, so I couldn't very well have different prices for each community, because there was definitely crossover and friendships and neighbors and so forth. So I settled on the $150 price for all, but I did get comments from some people that, oh, this is such a fantastic class, you're charging way too little. But also, I know there were people that they were scraping together to make it, just to do it. So, and I felt good about that, because personally, I wasn't in it to make it as a living. I was in it because, you know, it's just a fantastic thing and I believe in the process. But I do, that being said, you do need to get paid. And I think you need to just weigh the community and see, you know, what are other organizations charging? You know, what are they charging for a painting class? What are they charging for music lessons? What are they charging for a yoga class? And, you know, you'd kind of be right in the ballpark there. I did do a family retreat for a week, and I did not charge for that. But in a way, that was with the intent of getting people from that, you know, group. It was kind of like a model or a taste of GAB. And from that, then I had people register for the class. So, you know, I changed the policy a little bit for that retreat because it was an advertisement and a, you know, kind of a hook to get people to take the class.
Nice.
I think you had Heather, I think you had a
Yeah.
question from, or hand up from Mary McKnight.
There's a question from Debbie that I was actually just going to ask as well. Have any of the instructors offered a sliding scale option for participants, which we are doing?
I have.
Yeah, I have too. But if I do, I make sure that everybody knows that I'm doing that. So that, like Heidi said, that there's, you know, you get crosstalk, and I don't want people saying, oh, but I paid $50 and somebody else said, oh, I only had to pay 10, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to be transparent about whatever system you come up with.
Yeah. What we're going to do is have guidelines for that sliding scale. And if somebody wants to pay more, it's kind of like subsidizing that other person. Janet, do you want to address this question? We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, I was going to sort of tag on to Michael's early statement. I too have a problem with fees, with charging with fees, and have a lot of personal work to do around that history. But for Tasting the Path, I'm fortunate enough to do it through a center, an established center. So it's a lifelong learning center. So they have an established rate. So they are charging about $275 a head for 5 sessions. And then, of course, there's a tutor's fee, which my relationship with the center is I used to be the director. So I usually make, my fee is usually a donation back to the organization because we've had a long-standing relationship. So so whenever I do work for them or with them, I usually gift it back to the organization as part of our relationship. But they set the fee. So and
Janet, is that one based on a percentage?
Pardon me?
Is that based on a percentage that you get to take a percentage from that fee?
No, there's if my fee that goes back to them, tutors get like $75 an hour.
Oh, okay.
Between 50 and 75 an hour, and I just say just
and they do all the marketing for you?
Yes, they do everything. It's in their bulletin. And they had when I left, they had something like 1,200 members.
Wow.
So you get good. Yeah.
So that would be another question that came up in our discussion last week is marketing, how people are getting the word out there. So maybe Janet, you can talk about that. Although it sounds like yours comes from the center.
Yeah, it comes from the center, but I write my I write my profile. I kind of send because that was my job previously.
Yeah.
The director's job was my job. So I kind of have a sense of, you know, what the marketing thing should look like. So I do up the package, I do up the early mess, you know, like 3 months before you announce it, the closer there's an announcement, the reminder emails that go out, I do those too. But you definitely have to have a marketing strategy that cascades. So you have some stuff that's descriptive. This is what it is. These are the benefits. And then you have your tagline that you push as you get closer to the course. You keep pushing the tagline, and you're looking at your numbers. And I have a limit. I don't want more than about 8 people. It's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work terribly well. 10 is a push, but not desirable. 8 people is fine because I do story circles. It means I can have 2 story circle groups that will manage. Yeah.
What about, thanks, Janet. What about your marketing, Heidi?
What about my marketing, Heather? People say they have trouble with, money, the concepts of money. Well, I'm that way with marketing. I that's not my background, and I don't like to talk about myself. I don't like to, just be a cheerleader, although I am when asked. I mean, I can't stop talking about GAB and the process when I'm one-on-one, but but it's something you have to do. Like it or not, you do have to do it. And so you just start slowly. Let's say it's not your bag, it's not your comfort zone. You just sit down by yourself, or with a friend, and just make a list of all the different places where you could possibly market your class to. And, come up with 20, 30, and just, it's a brainstorm list, put down as many as possible. And then maybe behind that list, think about who might you have a connection to with that particular venue that you listed. Is it a library? Okay, maybe you could just go in and talk to the desk clerk, or ask to speak to the librarian, or maybe someone who's a patron member. Or it's a coffee shop, or it's an art center. Just think, is there a possible one-on-one connection you can make with a person, and talk about what you do. I guess my best marketing is to talk to my friends.
Yeah.
If I'm at a party, talk to people about it. And I have gotten more people just by talking. My friends pass the word on, they pass the word on, and all of a sudden, hey, I want to give this as a gift to my mother for Mother's Day, or I want to, it sparks a thought in people's minds as you talk about it. So my marketing strategy isn't, printouts and flyers and handouts and designs. It's talking. It's talking to my friends, talking to the community. And that just shows your enthusiasm. I mean, your enthusiasm will come through, and it just sparks. Then you have people who take the class and they start talking, and the business grows. So that's my marketing, I think.
Yeah, I think that is one of the best. And I was going to ask if anybody had any specific techniques for working with past students to encourage them to pass it on. Janet, I know you have
Yeah, I was going to really quickly add to Heidi's. If you could get institutions that are interested, like I got the museum interested, and so I got the museum to support a program that was run at the public library. So it was really between the museum and the public library to do everything to make it happen, sort of. Well, once the museum could see, oh yeah, this fits in with our heritage theme, etc., and the public library, oh yeah, we want to have people coming in here on a Saturday morning, then they kind of came up with what was needed to drive the marketing. So a lot of it went through their bulletins, went through their materials. All I needed to do was to convince them of the benefits of the people who come. What are the outcomes that would align with their outcomes or their aspirations? And so I.
Nice.
And that goes with making your list. Janet, that would be something you put on your list when you're brainstorming venues. Just put all those possibilities down on paper.
Yeah. Michael, what about you?
I was gonna say, I think Michael can talk about his Substack and some of the things you've done, which are amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I do use social media, and I know a lot of people kind of shy away from it. But before I say anything about social media, I mean, most of my work has come from personal, personal referrals. I thought social media was going to be the answer, and it's not the whole answer. But of all the social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, all those, the one that has worked for me the best is the newest one, Substack. And I think the reason for that is that Substack is composed, their community, they're made up mostly of writers. So, it's like you go to an audience who already enjoys writing. And among them, you'll find people, who are fascinated by guided autobiography, and which is usually a term they've not heard about. So there's a kind of curiosity effect. And that's where a lot of the interest has come from Substack, almost to the point where whatever I put on Substack, I just copy it to Facebook and my other social media, and I almost don't even use my website anymore. I don't really put any effort into the website because Substack has become my website really. So that's what works for me. The other thing I would say is, like, if you're just starting out, I think maybe Heidi already said this, but I just started with family and friends. It's like, who can I rope into, helping me out. And the other thing is I do belong to an online business community, and that's been great. Like, just asking other people online, can you help me out? Would you spread the word? If I send you the link to a post or something I'm promoting on social media, would you share that link with your community? And I guess lastly, I would just say collaborations. Don't overlook collaborating with other instructors. I've done this in other writing work where I've collaborated with other writers, even things like, hey, I'll come on your Zoom call and I'll watch your chat. I'll take care of that aspect of it while you do the webinar. And they'll go, yeah, that's great. Hey, I'll do the same for you. But you're also, at the same time, you're tapping into their audience and they're tapping into your audience. It's a win-win for everybody. So I think collaborations are a great way to market yourself as well.
Nice.
Even get four of you together, put on a series of workshops, maybe where you all share the presentations, but you reach four times the audience that you have. And
Right.
that's
Yeah,
really,
I love that
yeah.
collaborative idea.
Yeah.
John's asking, how do you take payments? Does anyone process credit cards for payment?
I use PayPal a lot. It's very easy.
Yeah.
And Stripe is another one which a lot of organizations use. So it's very easy. Yeah, you pay a fee to the credit card company, but
Yeah, which is not unusual. And then
No.
Debbie's saying she uses Venmo.
Venmo, yeah.
What do you use, Heidi?
Venmo works great. Zelle works great. And I have a Square account. That's different than Squarespace. And through Square, you can send someone an invoice and then they pay that invoice online with a credit card. And that has worked really well to do that. So, and then when I'm local, I have taken personal checks.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Janet? Oh, you don't have to worry about that, do you?
Yeah, my host organization, they sort that out.
Nice. Carlos sent me an email earlier today asking if anybody in the GAB community works with Latino communities. Doing GAB.
We do. In fact, Carlos, the Beeren Center, we're on our 4th anthology, which are the stories from GAB instructors and their students. And for the first time this year, we have 5 stories that are accepted that are in Spanish. They'll be in Spanish and then English translated. So yes, I can definitely put you up, and I can't remember, how many do we have in Mexico? Must be like 5
in my class, there were 3 of us that live in Mexico, 2 Mexicans, and then me as the Canadian. And I know Beatrice is just finishing a class right now. I've been in touch with her. So
no, definitely, Carlos, we have those in Spanish.
So that brings me to a question I have, Cheryl. For the instructor locator, I filled it out, but it never showed up. Is who's in charge of that?
On the map?
Yeah.
Then you didn't fill out the right form, but I can go back and look at that. We have an IT person who happens to be Melissa.
Yeah, so that would just be something for all of us to keep in mind as well, to make sure that we're on the Beeren Center instructor locator.
Because it's international, so it should show up in Mexico for you.
Yeah. So we don't have anybody showing up in there right now.
How do you get on that? Is that a
Who was that?
membership? This is Jane. I'm also in Mexico.
Yeah, Jane. Yes. No, it is a benefit of those who subscribe to the Beeren Center community, where you get the community hub, you get the map locator, you get the resources, you get all the information that we share, you get the forum, where you can chat with the people that are on there, etc. It's $125 a year. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a really good deal. So, and a really good way to support the center. So I would really encourage everyone to make sure they're signed up. One question I'd like to, well, and it came up when we were having our conversation last time, and I think Janet, you're the first one to address this, is to have a focused theme to your GAB classes. And I understand you do one that's food related, and I would love
Yeah.
to hear about that and maybe hear from anybody else who does do theme-based GAB classes.
Okay, I'll try and be as succinct as I can, but both Heidi and Cheryl are aware that I was very cautious about offering GAB in a small community in Bermuda, an island with 60,000 people. Everybody knows everyone, and I was really concerned that people would be reticent about sharing, especially in an initial setting or first meeting. And so I kind of came up with the idea of, well, why don't we do something around food? Everyone eats. You can reveal as much or as little as you care to, and it is a wonderful window into autobiographical writing. I soon found out, and Cheryl, I found this out recently, that there is a genre called autobiographical writing, food writing. It actually exists, and it's really good because you identify emotional connections, you explore identity, you talk about traditions, talk about culinary rituals, and it's universal. It activates memory. It touches into culture and identity, and the writing is therapeutic. More recently, what I've added to the course, and it's basically a 5 sessions where we have maybe 5 different prompts around food memories. That will be family events, community events, personal memories from childhood, about five. And then we have a final session that's a showcase and people read. I don't use the 1,000-word format for it. I use the 350 flash sprint writing. We give the prompts in the class and people start working on it in the class. We use story circles, which is people kind of huddle together and share what they've written, and then they can go away and refine it. And by the 5th session, they should have maybe about at least 4 stories, and they could actually choose one that they would read because we have a screening. We would read, and people brought food. People bring food. All the stuff
I was going to ask. I would imagine it would be hard not to have food.
Yes, people do bring food, and I'm going to finish in a moment. The 2 points I'm going to make. It was one of the most surprising experiences I had the first time I ran it. I had no idea that food can surface memory in such deep and insightful ways. My co-facilitator, and some Michael mentioned, always work with someone. I always work with a co-facilitator. So my co-facilitator looked at me, oh, why are you doing this? This makes no sense. What can you write about food? She wrote one of the most moving stories that she read on the 5th day. And finally, I'm going to say, one of the things that it allows you to do is to create a GAB, what I call a GAB gym, which is like craft, building muscle around craft, because you're talking about the senses. And so during that 5-week course, you can kind of encourage, give exercises, offer prompts that allow people to write into their senses, allow people to work playfully with metaphor. And it's all about food, smell, taste, touch, texture. And by writing through those sensorial kind of openings or ovaries, as it were, they develop writing skills. And people who say, oh, they said I couldn't write at high school. They're kind of writing stuff and everybody's jaw sort of dropping because they're talking about deeply held sensorial experiences.
Wow.
So it's a good way to bring it forward. And then I offer a full GAB. You know, if you want to sign up for a full GAB, Your Story Matters, which could be 8 sessions or 5 sessions or whatever we decide. But that Tasting the Past is the name of the course. Tasting the Past.
Tasting the Past.
Tasting the Past, Flavors of Memory.
And you've only done this live, right?
Yes, I've done it in person. I'm not sure.
And have you ever tried it online?
I haven't tried it online. I am not sure how it would work online because some
Yeah.
of the outputs and the memories of people, I mean, Bermuda people talked about segregation, people talked about politics, people talked about identity, people talked about culture, people spoke about mother-daughter relationships in ways that they couldn't, they never, oh, I never thought of that. Oh my gosh, this is what was happening in the kitchen. One person told this beautiful story. Oh, I hate food. I hate cooking. I don't like it. I won't be writing anything. And at the end, she wrote this beautiful story of kind of working with her granddaughter to make loquat jam, which is a big thing. And of course, it didn't turn out right. And of course, they named it something else. And her story said, but this is how I've always been. I've always rebelled. And when things have turned into something else, I've been able to name it something else. And so I gave my granddaughter that lesson. And food. We were talking about food.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
this idea.
I'm
Thanks
done
so
now.
much, Janet.
Sorry
Janet,
to be so long.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You're talking to all these GAB trainers, all GAB instructors, except for Carlos, who's going to get bombarded with emails at the end about taking a class. But
Yeah.
thinking about this, is this something that we would need? Would you need to teach us how to do that? I mean, do we need a training from you as to how to, or is this something that we could know, we could learn and do on our own?
I would put it like this. I think it's great if you do it yourself, if you have the experience of doing it before teaching. Whether, I don't have to facilitate it. You can have the pack, you can have the prompts. 4 or 5 people get together and do it and recognize the richness of it. People in my GAB cohort, because we still meet, have done it. Because I've kind of let the slides go. Hey, you can use it. Anybody can use them. No problem with it. And they have used it to good effect and come back to and said, well, they did it. We all did it. The GAB cohort, we did it 1 week, and it was,
But I like that question, Cheryl, because honestly, if you put it out to our community here, I would sign up. I'm such a foodie, and I would love to introduce that as a concept.
Yeah.
We can talk about that, Janet.
Yeah,
because,
we can.
I think it's a great idea. Just a great idea.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say is all of you hand your hands up, hang on to those questions because we are going to get to you. But I would like to make certain, because I was privileged to talk to Michael and Janet and Heidi before everybody came. They each have a different way. They've each done some very unique things, and I would like them to be able to share, what they have done with GAB that's different, and how they've used it. So, I'd like to start with Michael, because he just came from when he joined us, he just came from his hospice bereavement group, and he did something quite remarkable. So Michael, can you tell us about that?
Sure. So I think the first thing I'd say is that, underneath everything I do is the GAB structure. I think one of the things that attracted to me GAB was just how generous GAB is with the resources. So, we have tons of resources there and prompts and ideas. So that's always there to kind of work from. But I think it's really important to know your community. And so working in the hospice, I go there, and it began as a story circle, and I'll bring a story or two and then get them to share their stories. And usually the way they organize it is they do have a theme that's not picked by me, but it's chosen by them. And I knew that this week, for example, the theme was animals, and a couple of people brought their dogs in, and people brought photographs of their pets and so on. And we had some wonderful stories about some strange pets that people have kept over the years. But I thought what I did was I wrote took a couple of traditional tales. One was from Aesop's fables, and another one from the Haida tradition, a creation story, Raven stealing the light. And I just worked up a little short 10-minute play with just 4 characters in it. And the idea was to have them, work with me, to tell the story with me, rather than me going and telling them. That's what they expect, was me to tell the story. But I wanted to kind of work with them and get them being a part of the story. And the story was, just very, very briefly, I mean, Raven steals the light from Creator because the world is dark, but the box that he's carrying the light in is heavier than he thought, and he drops it, and it breaks open and scatters all the light, throughout the universe. And even though it wasn't what Raven actually expected to happen, it turned out for the good. And of course, that led to us talking about memories of times when things didn't work out how we wanted, and yet could we still see the good in it? And that really brought on some really heartwarming stories, because I'm working with a group where people, mostly older people, who have terminal illness, chronic illness, have recently suffered from grief, bereavement, and some of them, close to death. I mean, death is close to them, and so I wanted the story also to elicit their stories, personal stories. And as I'm listening, I think the other thing is really important to listen to your community and listen what is important to them. So in the hospice group, the willingness to talk about death and dying is really important to them. They want to talk about it, not in a morbid way. They just want to acknowledge it. And so, I write that down, the theme. I'm going to come up with some prompts where we can, where death and dying can be one of our themes. And things that people who are facing what they're facing, what's important? Well, looking back on their life, I've heard people in that group say, has my life meant anything? Look at you, you're a storyteller. You get to do all this stuff, and I never did anything like that, and I wanted to. So we look at things like regret. We reminisce. We try to find the purpose in all our lives, and that's where being able to tell a story suddenly, someone listens to someone's story and suddenly says, wow, you did something I never did, or, stories give our lives meaning and purpose. So, and the retirement community is very, very similar. But I, realize in a retirement community, the issues that are important to people are things like kindness, loneliness, empathy. And so those are the things I use and create prompts around those things. And then it's never a problem that people want to write about those things. They want to write about the things that matter to them. So I can do it as a little play, or I can give prompts or another tool. Cheryl?
No, I was going to
And
say
see, Leslie's got her hand up too.
Yeah. This is a nice segue into what Alicia and Greg did with the film that you did with the the dementia, Alicia, where you might want to talk about this, because it's the same thing where they told their stories, but you put it together into a script.
It's through an organization called To Whom I May Concern, and they were led through 5 prompts describing their journey with cognitive changes, and then they did a readers theater. We had 130 people show up for it, and they told their story about what it is like living with dementia, and it was so popular. We're doing another performance in July.
But tell them how this came about, because Alicia took their stories. It was
So basically, through the prompts, I was the scribe. I wrote everything down, and then I took the key points and created the script for them to read their words.
What, 4, 5 of them? How many
There
were
were 5 participants. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they said it in their own word. They read back what they had said.
Yeah.
In the on a panel. So it was coming, just like you're saying, they want to talk about death. They want to acknowledge it. They wanted people to know what it feels like to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's. To have people all of a sudden shy, not come and visit, Anyway.
Yeah, and I do one-to-one digital storytelling, and so the woman who facilitated it is married to a man who has very progressed dementia, and we just finished a story about their journey together with dementia. And it is about, erasing those stigmas associated with death, with dementia, with all of that. And I agree, Michael, meeting people where they're at and finding out what's important to them is essential. So let's hear Heidi's take on that too, because we're now 6 after the hour, and we still want to be able to have a little bit of informal chit chat. So Heidi.
I'm sorry. What was your question?
If you have any kind of theme-based specific classes that you've done, like Janet did with food and Michael's done, yeah.
You know, I haven't gone in any specific way with one specific theme, except for navigating differences. The theme that was created by the theme revision group in a COVID response. You know, we did the navigating differences theme. I developed a class with the materials that this group created around that navigating differences theme. And that was just a great personal exploration of looking inside yourself and seeing, you know, what is your background? What is your attitude towards people of different cultures, people of different beliefs, people with different abilities? Just, you know, you taking the focus away from yourself and looking at how do you understand people who might be different than you, which is just a great exercise for everyone, you know, regardless of where you're at or, you know, where you are on, you know, in life. It's just a great way to look at it.
Wow.
Where I have focused, you know, my attentions is in developing classes for specialty groups, like both the visually impaired community. I've done classes for visually impaired communities, and also in creating curriculum for taking a GAB class to a destination and doing retreats, as opposed to just developing specialty themes. I mean, I've written a lot of specialty themes to use, you know, in GAB 2, GAB 3, GAB 4 classes, but those were just 1-week themes.
Oh, right. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I'd be happy to talk about, you know, either of the topics of, you know, how to, you know, develop a class specifically for a visually impaired community, or retreats, you know, whichever might interest. We don't have a lot of time left, but.
Well, I appreciate it's really nice to know though these things exist, and I hope that people will follow up by grabbing individuals' emails or hopping on the forum. Is a really nice way to open it up for other people to get involved. Francine, I would love if you could unmute and just briefly share what you put into the chat about what your focus.
Okay, thank you. I didn't really, I wasn't part of the agenda, so I didn't want to take up any time. But my 5th book is coming out, and it's about parenting adult children. And I'm writing a theme that is consistent with that idea of parenting children and the difficulty that a lot of people have. Sometimes children are estranged, sometimes it's permanent, sometimes it's temporary. There's a lot of discomfort at this point in history about relating to adult children. Sometimes they're far away, sometimes sometimes they won't leave your house, sometimes they won't come to your house, you know, problems with seeing grandchildren, you know, all of these. And I think for a lot of people, it would be helpful to write about this. And so I'm creating the theme. I'm happy to send it. I can send it to Cheryl and she can distribute it if that's what you'd like to do. And
you know, Francine, we should connect you. We have a new GAB instructor.
Yes.
I think she was in Heidi, your group, who's working with estranged parents.
She is.
You know, specifically.
She's got a group going right now.
Isn't she in Canada? Why do I think that?
She's in New York.
There is a book, and I know the author who writes about estrangement exclusively, and his name is Joshua Coleman. And he has probably the best-selling book he's a psychologist also working with the concept of estrangement.
Francine, I might connect you with her if you don't mind.
Yeah,
I think she would really welcome. She'd welcome
but you know, sometimes it's just a matter of having a better relationship with your adult children, learning how to communicate with them more effectively, because the things that worked in a child, as you all know, who have adult children,
Right.
they don't work when you have adult children. So you need a different skill set. And so that's what I'm trying to focus on and help people with. So
Great.
it ranges from everything normal, healthy relationships that could be better and relationships that are, off the rail that you'd like to get back on.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's great.
I think my biggest takeaway is that there's so many ways we can go with this. And I appreciate what Michael said with how generous the Barron Center is and with the materials, and that we have that flexibility. We're not stuck to a rigid outline that we have to keep following.
Well, this is for more advanced generally. I mean, and when I do a GAB 1.0, then I don't include anything like this. But when I see people who've gone through it already, often I'm looking for new subjects because I can't use the same old things again. And so and then there's going to be another theme. If you're interested, part of the book is on how to take the temperature of your relationship once your kids are gone and you're in a relationship, because that all changes once kids are not part of the scene anymore, to figure out whether your relationship is still viable. So that's part of the book as well. And I'm thinking about writing a theme on that. If you're interested, just let me know. You can let me know. I mean, I'm easy to find,
Great. Thank you, Francine.
Let me just
see.
ask one question, knowing that you're a clinician, Francine. Do
Yeah.
you feel this is something that we as GAB instructors can do without treading into therapy? I mean, is it?
You can, but you need to be mindful of, where the line is.
Right.
And when people start getting too deep, then that's the point of saying we need to help you connect with someone that can help you to a greater degree, because then it gets really uncomfortable in a group.
I can.
Leslie, you've had your hand up.
Oh, thank you. If you recall, we were talking about adapting GAB for young adults. And I've been doing a lot of work in that area. Have a class coming up shortly, but I've been working with a lot of educators and yada, yada. But I'm finding that writing is a second language to these kids.
Wow.
Most of them have minimal reading skills. It depends, and there's a big equity spread. So in this small Latino farming community where I live, we see one reality: the kids speak fluently, but don't read a lot. Even students getting into Yale and Harvard these days have not read a full novel or book from cover to cover in a decade.
Wow.
So you need a totally different approach. Also, their reality is so different because this is a generation that is immersed in social media, which affects attention span, and it also affects where their communication skills are. So they may be in anime, they may be in music, they may be oral storytelling. So I'm doing a lot of work, first of all, to present in be entertainer as much as educator, presenting in multimedia, focusing on the concept of storytelling. And so that allows kids to come much more in touch with themselves, because most of you are working with older people. When we're working with younger people, their goals aren't to consolidate their past, come to terms where they are, or leave legacy. Even though they don't realize it, it's to cement their identity, to develop of executive skills, to understand consequences of their actions. And these are where you can set up prompts. Also, a lot of kids won't do homework. I think Janet mentioned it, or Michael. Have them start their work in class in case they don't have any place to quiet and safe to write. And so it's a whole, I'll stop here, but it's just a
No,
whole
no,
other-
I just want to ask you, Leslie, if I remember correctly, you wanted to do this younger population because you were thinking about all of the students, high school students that have to write their personal history for
No.
their for college entrance.
Forgive me. No, that's what everybody said. Oh, it'll be great for that. But
Yeah.
and in affluent
Okay.
communities,
It would be.
it would be.
But
But
you're up in Northern California, right?
I'm sorry?
You're in Northern California?
I'm in Northern California, 20 miles from some of the wealthiest
Right. That's what I
communities
mean.
in
Yeah.
the country where what you're talking about applies. But
Yeah.
I'm also, but I live in a farm community,
Okay.
and there are, even just going to San Jose instead of Palo Alto,
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. So, and I think this is global right now, or definitely
Yeah, I
moving.
agree. I think it's a great point that, again, you are adapting it to the people that you're working with. So now would it be different if you were doing it in Spanish?
No, the kids
Yeah.
have, forgive me for being so abrupt
Yeah,
on
no,
that.
no.
Let me just say, I don't think so,
Yeah.
because many of the kids that I'm working with are truly bilingual. Their parents may
Yeah.
not speak English very well, but they do. But it's just coming to reading and writing
Yeah.
that they have problems. But even just by the concept of storytelling, where they have to plan ahead, where they learn consequences.
Oh God, this is needed.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's huge.
So much.
And I'm working on the book you suggested, but I'm in the middle of uprooting my life and moving, so things have slowed down in that
Well,
area.
I'll reach out to you, but I'm blown away with all this. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Leslie's comments are just really very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Mexican American. My parents immigrated to this country 100 years ago, but all my life I've been working with people like me. And so I don't know that I would have the courage and patience to work with young people like Leslie is saying.
So
I'd be
Carlos, what is your first language? Do you feel it's English or Spanish?
when I spoke Spanish up to first grade,
Okay. So
and then
can you,
English in the first grade.
okay, so like I'm thinking about my close friend who's Hispanic, and she can speak Spanish fluently. She cannot read or write it because her parents too came to this country. She was born here. She went
Yeah.
to all English. So if you were to write, do you write in
I'm
Spanish?
bilingual. I read and write in Spanish
Okay.
because it's been part of my job. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, you see, we need you as a GAB instructor, so
Yeah.
we
There you
may be
go.
pulling you over.
So, what I'd like to do is kind of end the formal part of this, but start with a question. Are there other pressing topics that you would love for Cheryl and I to arrange for future GAB meetings? We're going to continue doing them the third Wednesday of each month. Next month it'll be later in the day. What is our June date? Do you have that in front of you?
I can look it up while you're talking.
Yeah. So if people want to unmute and just
June
throw
18th.
subject,
June
sorry,
18th. June 18th.
Great. Okay. Are there pressing topics or things that today's discussion has triggered or inspired you to think about, or that you want to go further into? Just unmute and throw stuff out. Keep it short, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, all I can say is that I wasn't supposed to be on this meeting, I guess, but I'm really very happy that I did because I've learned a lot.
It's been lovely having you, Carlos.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no.
Muchas gracias.
I'd like to hear different ideas like Janet gave us and Heidi for different themes, different
More theme
avenues to give to our groups.
And I'd also like to put out there, if you are an expert in something, like you do a
Yeah.
theme-based one and you want to speak about it, let us know as well.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that we can line you up as a speaker. Anybody else?
May I
Just in
add?
terms,
Go
Oh,
ahead.
excuse me, Michael.
no, go
May I
ahead,
add,
Carlos.
in terms of expertise, I'm actually an expert on Mexico and Mexican Americans.
Oh,
I've
wow.
taught those subjects for the last 30 years. I'm retired now, and I know that that Heather, no, that Janet, one of you said you were going to Mexico. If there's anything I can help in that
Um,
area, just let me know, because
Oh, that's
I
Heidi.
yeah, Heidi, yeah,
Heather and Greg, they
yeah.
are now ex-American and ex-Canadian, and they live in Mexico.
and
They
so
live
does
in,
Oh, wow, super.
and so does Jane
Yeah.
Lazar.
yeah.
She's been
And
there.
Heidi is the one who's taking a group. Heidi, you might tell him the name of the area.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to know too, Heidi.
Well, this is just in the very, it's just in the
Mhm.
idea stage.
It'll happen.
Yeah,
Well,
no, it's to
just let me know
Sayulita.
if I can help. That's all.
What town, Heidi?
Sayulita.
Later. Okay, anybody else have topics they really want to? Oh yeah, Michael, sorry,
Yeah,
you were going to say something.
yeah, no, it's just simply I'd be curious on how people evaluate their work.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
I've had organizations that have, they want some sort of evaluation, or they want to know how to evaluate a project like this. Yeah.
Okay,
that's great.
that's a good one.
That brings me back to Steve Hoover, and finding we all see the changes that people go through, but the one benefit of having the research background and doing the studies is to prove it to other people. It's, even though it's correlational, it's not causation, but it shows you the benefits of doing this. So, in fact, Grace, you may talk about the research you're doing right now, if you'd unmute yourself.
Yes, I am piggybacking actually on Steve's work, and he did a pilot project of people living with dementia and having a care partner with them do a GAB class. And I actually have some funding, and I will be doing a 6-week class starting sort of end of July, with participants and their partners of people who live with dementia.
So what evaluation methods are you using? How are you going to?
We'll do qualitative evaluations for that.
So we are going to get more research results for all of us, and you'll keep us posted on that, right, Grace?
I'm very excited, and I'm hoping to do it again as part of somebody else's doctoral project in the fall. So I'm hoping to do it at least twice.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, very
That's great.
excited. Yeah, and thank you all for the panel. It's been mind-blowing, the ideas. So, what's working for people, maybe even what prompts or sort of warm-up activities that work really well. If we could talk about that next time, just as an idea.
Yeah, that's great. We've got experts in that.
Somebody just asked a question. All these the dementia classes will be in person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Carlos, I would like it if you would put your email address down in the chat so I can stay in touch with you. I don't know how you found us, but I think the universe stepped in and put you here.
Carlos has been on my email. We have corresponded a number of times back and forth. Yes, since probably March.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Now we know how you got here.
I've been in touch with Carlos.
Oh, you're muted, Carlos. You're muted.
Does anybody have any final comments or things they want to share with us?
I guess I just wanted to say, and you, Carlos, I'm glad you're here. I think you were meant to be here. But there's so much, there's so many rewards from doing this work. And I know every single person who does this work could say that. But recently for me, it was a 96-year-old woman who did a 6-week GAB group with me. And she's legally blind. She still tries to write, but it's kind of all over the page, and she can't read her own writing, so she gets me to read it. And I also record people on my phone and then transcribe the recordings and then give them the printed version. But at the end, she stood up and she was so proud and she said, I just want to say that thanks to this class, I have finally found my voice.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
At 96 years old. And she said, I was a mother, I was a wife, I was a nurse all my life, I'm a grandmother. And she said, I spent my whole life listening to other people's stories.
Wow.
And she said it really wasn't until this group that I felt heard and witnessed by other people that who just sat and listened to my stories. And to me, I just, I mean, I just almost broke me down, to hear that, it's so powerful. It's never too late, to work with people. And 96 years old, and she had amazing stories. And yet to look at her, she's just a little woman with gray hair who sits in who's in a retirement community, who has outlived her family, so is pretty much on her own.
Michael,
Yeah.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Sure.
Working with older people, isn't it difficult for them to write by hand or even on a typewriter? Physically
Absolutely
difficult?
Yes. No, it is absolutely. Yeah, it's in fact, this woman I was speaking of has arthritis, so she couldn't write more than, maybe half a page or quarter of a page at the most. So that's why I started recording her telling her stories on my phone with an app on the phone. And then I transcribed the voice recording into a typed out, format, and I format it for her, and then I give that back to her, or I read it to her. She loves hearing me read her stories.
Wow.
And that's something in itself, to hear your own story read by somebody else.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
I also think that's another topic, is how we can adapt our classes for people with different abilities.
Yeah.
Yes, there's definitely, just throwing this in here, Michael, I want to just applaud you for just working through and standing by this lady's side, because that's a community that is often
neglected.
I don't know, set aside because the hurdles to overcome a visually impairment is just so difficult. But just that you just showed how you can possibly work through it, and I applaud you for that. But there are ways to work through it. Everybody needs to be included in the option to be able to tell their stories, regardless of any mitigating or limiting factor.
I have another quick question.
Oh, good.
Has anyone worked with prisoners?
Yes, we've got a couple. One was working in a jail with women, and the other one, gosh, was it Indiana?
Yes,
Heidi, help me out here.
Yes.
She was in a college. She was a college professor and was working in a prison setting.
Yes.
Wow. I happen to be a volunteer and work with prisoners nearby.
Well, here you go. Now there's another reason to be a GAB instructor, Carlos. What the heck? You are definitely meant to be here.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us this month. We had 36 people at our high point. Our next month, June 18th, Wednesday, we'll get that up on the forum. Keep an eye out in your inbox. If you're not on the newsletter mailing list, please send Cheryl a note so she can make sure you're there. We're trying to consolidate as much as possible and make sure communication flow is working for everybody. And again, join the forum so that you can stay connected and communicate with each other that way too. Because I think this is a really important part of it.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop.
Thank you. Thank you.